Where do I even begin? This video isn't just about the Game Pass price increases, by the way. That's only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this story. I think that Microsoft is a threat to this industry, to their customers, and to the hobby as a whole. You know, in most cases, I just try to give you guys my opinion on things. I don't really like to try to tell people how to spend their money, mostly because it's none of my business to begin with. But in this one rare case, I will say, if you care about this hobby, this is the last company that you want to be giving your money to. And that's not me being melodramatic. Let me make that clear. It wasn't until just recently that I realized just how absolutely disgusting some of their tactics have become and what their dream, what their vision for what gaming looks like in the future. What they're trying to make it look like in the future. You know, I had my predictions, but this is way beyond my wildest imagination. You know, with the price hikes that they had, that showed the direction that they were going in, but with some of their recent decisions, they just revealed their entire hand. I'm talking about jacking up hardware and game prices to be able to funnel more people towards their services and make them more reliant on those services. I'm talking about monetization schemes before you even boot up a game. Why have a battle pass just in a game when you could have a battle pass in real life? Why have ads in the menus when you could have ads in the games? And oh, my favorite, why limit performance based on hardware when you could monetize that performance digitally? This is the world that Microsoft wants. Death by 1,000 cuts. You own nothing and they are making everything. I'm not even talking about Xbox anymore. I'm removing these guys from the conversation because it's really pretty obvious by now that Daddy's the one that's running the show. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how Microsoft is a threat to the industry, and I want to talk about how they don't just want your money today, they want your money every day. This might be the first time that I sat down to talk about something, and I felt so much righteous indignation that I feel like I need to go throw some holy water on Microsoft's front door. We only just got done talking about how Xbox raised the prices on their hardware and accessories for the second time this year, with the Xbox Series X now reaching up to $800 and their so-called affordable Series S climbing up to $380. And now, in a totally unprecedented and completely unpredictable move, Microsoft waited all of but 2 weeks before announcing major changes to Game Pass. Changes that, for whatever reason, most people either haven't noticed or haven't realized just how destructive they really are. On October 1st, Microsoft put out a statement claiming that they had been listening to player feedback and that Xbox Game Pass was getting a much-needed upgrade, but then what followed was nothing more than a thinly veiled ad for cloud gaming and Ubisoft Plus Classics, while console users were almost handed nothing of value. The biggest announcement that these guys made wasn't about features, it was about name swaps, core to essential, standard to premium, just another layer of subliminal marketing designed to make the lowest common denominator feel like they're buying something of prestigious value. Guys, it's not the core experience anymore, it's the essential experience. And while they padded that announcement with almost no meaningful changes, there was one tiny little detail that they had left out entirely: the price hike, something that players caught on to quickly on Twitter, pointing out that PC Game Pass was not mentioned despite saying every tier was getting upgraded. It will see a 40% increase, with nothing new being added, from $11.99 to $16.49 monthly. Game Pass can no longer be acquired with reward points, an unmentioned change. So Xbox Game Pass jacked up its pricing across the board, with Game Pass Ultimate now sitting at $29.99. The so-called best deal in gaming is now halfway to the price of a full game every single month, and people were rightfully furious outside of the dedicated dick eaters, but the backlash was so intense that it even caused Microsoft's membership site to crash just from the flood of cancellations. Now, none of this comes as a shock to me. You guys have heard me go after Game Pass and subscription models before. Microsoft has always wanted Xbox to become Netflix. This has been the plan since the Xbox 360 was the first home device to put Netflix on home TV screens. It's why the Xbox One was marketed as a TV box more than a console. It's why Game Pass was born in the first place. The model has always been the same: hook you in cheap and then year after year crank up the price while locking more and more behind tiers. So it wasn't these changes that caught me off guard. No, it was the subtle changes that nobody seemed to notice, and those changes made my stomach drop, not because of what they did, but because of what they're setting up for. During the announcement, I kept hearing these buzzwords: more value, exclusive features, extra rewards, and then right at the end, they casually slipped in, Xbox Ultimate gives you our best quality and our shortest wait times for cloud gaming. And that's when it clicked. Oh no, here it comes. Look at the tiers. Their first one promises unlimited cloud gaming. The next says unlimited cloud gaming with our shortest wait times. And the last, unlimited cloud gaming with our best quality and shortest wait times. Now, on the surface, this sounds like meaningless fluff, but dig deeper and you find out what's actually happening. This hike is not about Game Pass. It's about carving up cloud gaming itself into speed and quality tiers. Now, while we've seen this kind of thing from Nvidia's streaming, Microsoft is far more influential, and they're now making you pay for more resolution, frame rate, and download priority. And if that wasn't dystopian enough, every single tier now dangles more rewards through their loyalty system, turning Game Pass itself into a battle pass of its own. Not only are they monetizing how you play, they're gamifying the act of actually playing games in the first place. Essential and Premium get you 10 to 17 megabits per second at 1080p, while Ultimate will jump you up to 27 megabits per second if you want 1440p. And on top of that, every single Game Pass tier now gives you a different amount of reward points depending on what you're actually paying for. And at first, I thought it was really odd when that community note had said that Game Pass can no longer be acquired with reward points, but what I didn't realize was that Microsoft had already essentially turned Game Pass itself into a battle pass. Depending on what tier you have, you're getting daily reward points, quests for playing games. You can play games for 2 hours at a time every single week, and a bunch of other meaningless tasks. Those points can be redeemed for cosmetics, merch, gift cards, and before this change, you could renew your Game Pass subscription with them. Exactly like how Call of Duty, Fortnite, and Apex Legends were structured with their battle passes until those devs ripped out those features because players were getting the service for free just by playing the game. Now, some of you guys are probably going to try to shrug this off, saying it's cloud gaming, a glorified reward system, but the point is, this is a canary in the coal mine, a glimpse of what Microsoft actually wants to happen to the future of this hobby. I've been asking myself recently, why has Microsoft been so casual about jacking up prices and so aggressive about it, even though they're dead last in the console generation? Nintendo and Sony have outsold them 3-1, yet here we are with Xbox having the most expensive hardware on the market. They were the first to follow Nintendo's lead when Mario Kart World launched at $80. They raised their prices on their accessories. They briefly pulled back on the charge for $80 for Outer Worlds 2, but then they confirmed that next year those prices are still going to increase. And on top of that, they just recently announced their Asus ROG Xbox handheld, $600 for the base model, $1,000 for the high-end one. These are insane prices for a company that is bleeding money, yet they just keep doubling down. What's going on? Well, with these changes to Game Pass prices, it all makes sense. Microsoft doesn't care if hardware or game ownership become unaffordable to the middle class and below. In fact, that's exactly what these guys are trying to do. They don't want you buying boxes or discs. They want you guys funneled into services like Game Pass and xCloud because that's where they hold the keys and you own nothing. This is the exact same logic that is driving the housing market right now. Corporations are buying up entire neighborhoods, they're pricing them out of reach, they're waiting patiently, and then they're just pushing people towards rental properties they own. Why let you buy and own anything when they can make way more money off of renting it back to you forever? That is the exact same model that Microsoft wants for gaming. This has been their plan all along. Consoles, physical games, hardware, hell, even Game Pass as we know it, none of these things have ever been Microsoft's endgame. Their bet has always been cloud gaming. Ownership in any form is like holy water to these guys because the second that you own something, they lose control over how you access it, when you access it, and how they can monetize it. This entire thing, it started back with the Xbox One era, and none of us ever noticed. Microsoft was trying to fast forward this future by introducing DRM licenses to try to stop you from trading or reselling your games. Sony luckily humiliated them with their infamous how to share games ad. Microsoft backpedaled, but digital distribution solved that problem for them. And now the more that I look at where they're headed, how they're pricing cloud gaming, how they're gamifying the service itself, I don't even think these guys want you even downloading games anymore because streaming gives them total control. Before you ask, no way, these guys are losing money. That doesn't even make any sense. My hometown, average house, it's in the Midwest, it's like $200,000 a home. I went home just recently. BlackRock bought an entire neighborhood and priced all of the houses between $700,000 and $800,000. These guys do not care about losing money right now. They will sit and wait patiently. They have all the money and all the time in the world. All they're trying to do is take away options. Microsoft is a company that is worth $4 trillion. They do not care how long it takes for this plan to play out. They will wait. That's what's going to happen. How has nobody noticed that this entire Game Pass reward system program is literally just there to keep their retention and their player numbers up for their shareholders? Play a game for 2 hours every single week. I wonder why they want you to do that. You know, I don't usually like this flavor of language because I think it's overused and hyperbolic, but this is straight up late stage capitalism. This is corporate authoritarianism is what it is. This is some straight up cyberpunk shit that we're looking at right now. I mean, if you take the time to think about it, Microsoft already has xCloud and Game Pass services on select smart TVs right now. If they get it on Sony's PlayStation, if they get it on Nintendo's hardware, next stop for these guys is not making hardware anymore. Then after that, what they're going to do is they're going to stop selling their games entirely. Then they're going to stop letting you even download the games to begin with. And there you go. That's it. Now they got full control. No more piracy, no more ownership, and they can microtransact these games as much as they want before you even play them. They can sell you speeds, they can sell you queue times, they can sell you frame rate, they can sell you resolution, whatever they want. While it's not going to happen right now, this is the plan for the future, and I'm here to warn you about it. Luckily, we have options. We have a lot of other options. We have better options, much better options. Also, lucky for us, their games largely suck, and these guys are really hard pushing into AI right now, and that technology is in its infancy still from my perspective, which is only going to come at a cost to the quality of their games even more. But I think it's really important to send a clear message that we want to have nothing to do with this. If you have the option to have nothing to do with this, I highly recommend to have nothing to do with this, because if you guys think this is bad, you're going to love what I have to say next. If you ever want to know what the future of this industry looks like, the best place to check isn't what developers are saying or even what publishers are saying. It's what business analysts are pushing, because these guys are the ones with the connections to the guys at the top, and they don't give a damn about the players or the experience. All they care about is where the money goes. A few days ago, Push Square ran an article titled "Sony is a terrible company that's blowing it in the games business," says Michael Pachter. Now, if you guys don't know who Michael Pachter is, he's a business analyst for Wedbush Securities, one of the biggest wealth management and advisory firms in the country. He's built his entire career off of telling investors where to put their money, and right now his favorite company is Netflix, and that should tell you exactly where this is going. In the article, the writer Liam Croft quotes Pachter when talking about the recent investments into EA and whether or not Sony is worthy of investment, saying, "No, Sony, for sure not. Sony is a terrible company. They're actually blowing it in the games business. Games are moving to connect to TV, so think about the participants that are going to deliver the way we get movies via Netflix. Forget subscription models. Just think about iOS becoming your TV. So free-to-play games on your TV, who's going to deliver that? Cloud providers, AI." Now, Pachter never directly names Microsoft, but let's not kid ourselves, that's exactly who he's talking about. Outside of Amazon, they're the only player in the industry that's positioned in both of those markets, and they already have their game services connected to TVs. Besides that, Game Pass is already baked into some Amazon Fire Sticks, but the key detail here is the Netflix comparison and the direct-to-TV access. That's what investors are bullish on, and that's exactly the path that Microsoft is following right now, which means the next logical step, the most lucrative step, is obvious. xCloud and Game Pass will eventually be pivoting to free-to-play with ads. Not just subscriptions, but ad-driven TV gaming. And you don't have to take my word for it. Microsoft's own game CFO, Tim Stewart, has already said as much. See, back in 2023, The Verge ran an article titled "Microsoft Exec Hints at Free Ad-Supported Xbox Cloud Gaming," where Tom Warren wrote, "Microsoft currently offers free access to Fortnite on Xbox cloud gaming service xCloud, but there are signs that the company may offer free game streaming in exchange for ads." Microsoft Gaming CFO Tim Stewart hinted at the prospect in a Wells Fargo TMT Summit interviewed last month, spotted by Tweaktown. The vision that I like to talk about is we have xCloud game streaming, so you can subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate and you can stream hundreds of games to really any endpoint that has a browser experience, explained Stewart. For models like Africa or India or Southeast Asia, maybe places that aren't console first, you can say, "Hey, do you want to watch 30 seconds of ad and get 2 hours of game streaming?" And this is when it all clicked for me, because I just recently saw Paul Tossi mention a comment that Game Pass in Brazil has doubled in price from 59.99 real a month to 120 real a month, in a country where the average household per capita income is around 2,000 real. That makes Game Pass a wildly expensive luxury. Microsoft's plan isn't just to increase the prices in the US, it's to make the service completely unaffordable to lower income economies and then funnel those players into free ad-supported versions, test it there first, and then slowly but surely bring it to the West. South America, Africa, Southeast Asia, these regions do not have very many options. That's why piracy has always been so strong out there, but it also makes these guys the easiest targets for ad-driven gaming and free-to-play. Look at some of the most popular games that they play out there. If the choice is between no games at all or sitting through some ads for access, a lot of these players are going to tolerate that, and Microsoft knows it. Rolling it out in the West would just spark an open rebellion, so instead they're going after the most vulnerable audiences, pitching it as an act of generosity and ignoring the fact that they are the ones who engineered the problem in the first place. I know a lot of people are probably going to call me a conspiracy theorist, but I promise you this is only the beginning. Just look at what happened with TV and movies. We went from owning VHS tapes, DVDs, and Blu-rays to owning nothing but a screen and paying more than ever for 10 different subscription services, constantly upgrading just to be able to avoid ads. Technology moves so fast. This is the future that these guys are priming us for, and I can promise you it is coming sooner than anyone thinks. I don't know, man. I only see this going downhill from here. Microsoft is one of the wealthiest, most influential companies on the planet. They have maintained an effective monopoly for years, buying out emerging competitors before they even had a chance. And gaming is nothing to these guys. Microsoft makes up just 8% of Microsoft's total revenue. That means this entire industry is basically just a guinea pig for them, a long-term play they can afford to just sit on and wait until they've cornered the market entirely. Every single move up until now, every acquisition, every strategy, it has all been building towards this one conclusion, turning games into a service-based hellscape, just like movies and television, where convenience turned into inconvenience, where cheap turned into expensive, and it's all being driven by the profits for the few. Anytime I think about these subscription services, all I can do is just think back to the blowback over Ubisoft's leadership saying that players just need to get comfortable not owning their games, and Larian Studios' Sven Vinka warning the industry of the dangers of subscription services and what they pose to the industry, saying, whatever the future of gaming looks like, content will always be king, but it's going to be a lot harder to get good content if subscriptions become the dominant model and the select group gets to decide what goes to market and what not. Direct from developer to player is the way. Getting a board to okay a project fueled by idealism is almost impossible, and idealism needs room to exist, even if it can lead to disaster. Subscription models will always end up being a cost-benefit analysis exercise intended to maximize profit. There is nothing wrong with that, but it may not become a monopoly of subscription services. We are already all dependent on a select group of digital distribution platforms, and discoverability is brutal. Should those platforms all switch to subscription, it'll become savage. In such a world, by definition, the preference of subscription services will determine what games get made. Trust me, you really don't want that. The reason I'm so passionate about this and why I'm making a warning and a big fuss out of something like this, while a lot of people are probably going to think it's a lot smaller than what it is because if their model and their plan succeeds, then it becomes the dominant model for the entire industry, because that's how these industries work. It's worked in movies and television. It'll work here just like any other piece of entertainment. It worked in music as well, right? Most people don't own CDs anymore. Everybody just listens to their music on YouTube, or they listen to their music on Spotify, which also have advertising, and you have to pay to not have that advertising there. That's just how this entire technology works. It's how these industries work. And if subscription services, streaming services become the dominant model, it doesn't just go to, oh, I have to pay extra money. Oh, I don't get to own anything. It goes past that, and they start actually dictating what you do and don't receive so far as content. What content actually gets approved. We already see that with TV and movies specifically, right? Because look, it's a lot of these movies have the same actors, the same tone, the same writing, the same themes, the same politics. You're going to see that exact same thing in video games as well. The one thing that's working to our favor in all of this is that largely their games suck, Xbox specifically, but also AAA as a whole for the most part lately. They're all really pushing us towards indie and independent games. It's just, I don't know what it is, man. With some of these, it's not even some of these, it's almost all of these AAA games at this point. I sit down to play them and I'm just not there. I just don't care anymore. I don't know what it is. I think it's just they all feel the same, or they're telling the same story with the same gameplay. And it's just, I'm just tired of it. And that's working to our favor, because that makes these services and their games a lot less interesting, and us a lot less interested in them. You know, I saw one creator talk about this, and I think they were probably responding to IGN's coverage on it, because they were saying Xbox is going to be known for greed. This entire generation is going to be known for greed. And they're right, at least in my eyes. But this creator was essentially alluding to the fact that it's not them that's the problem, it's the system that's the problem, saying that it's capitalism that's broken and needs to be fixed. And from my perspective, you don't blame the tool, you blame the operator. And when I look out there and I see companies like Larian Studios that know how to make sure that they're looking out for both their best interests and our best interests at the exact same time, they do a damn good job at handling both and balancing both. They're not alone. That alone proves that it is not the car, it's the one that's driving it. And right now, the way those guys are driving that car, they're driving it into a wall with us in the passenger seat. I'll be honest with you, man, I can't keep up. This year is just, I can't be the only one that's noticed that this year has to be the greediest year we have ever seen in the games industry. I've never seen so many things with price changes, with monetization, with live service, with all of these different things. And while it's made for a lot of content, it just does not make things look good in the future. And I think now more than ever, it's never been more important that you make sure that you're giving your time, your money, your attention, all of it to the right people. So think about who they are. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. Let me know, am I crazy? Am I not crazy? Am I the prophet? Don't call me that. Anyway, follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. I've been raving about this entire thing the entire time on Twitter. I'll catch you guys on stream, actually. Today should be Friday. Hope you guys show up. Peace. Wait, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'm sorry it's late. Peace.
Family, 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 family.